What up, y'all? Join the chat room, join the chat room, join the chat room. We are here live. Hotep ish, intelligent ish talk, intelligent shit talk. We are here. Get on in the chat room. Let's talk some shit. It's been a lot going on with Black Lives Matter lately. Black Lives Matter, the organization. I want to break down the difference between the Black Lives Matter organization and Black Lives Matter, the movement. I'm doing this because there's a lot of confusion out there right now. And we over here going back and forth because most people we'll say that. We all know that. Unless you're a crazy ass racist, you support the notion of Black Lives Matter because they do. We support the intent behind Black Lives Matter. But there's more than that going on right now. There's much more than that going on right now. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because usually in any movement, there's always a counter movement. And these counter movements are usually controlled opposition. Controlled opposition is when people in power create opposition to what's going on and then use that opposition to create the narrative and to wither down the narrative to what they want. What's up, Brandon? I see you in the chat room. I'm here by myself today talking some shit. I just want to break down Black Lives Matter, and then I'm going to come on down in another stream that we're going to break down this new so-called reform bill that the cops are doing here in California. But let's get into this shit here. Black Lives Matter is a political front group. That's what it is. They're a political front group who's taken a genuine, for real movement, and they're trying to change the narrative. We see here Black Lives Matter, the hashtag, the movement, the organization was founded in 2013 in response to the acquittal of Trayvon Martin's murderer, George. They didn't even put George Zimmerman's name here. So that right there shows you, that they're not really all about it. You need to put the name of the person who murdered him, so that name is remembered in, as long as Trayvon Martin's name is. Black Lives Matter Foundation Incorporated is a global organization in the U.S., U.K., and Canada whose mission is to eradicate white supremacy and build local power to intervene in violence inflicted on Black communities by the state and vigilantes. By combating and countering acts of violence, creating space for Black imagination and innovation, and centering Black joy, we are winning immediate improvements in our lives. So that right there, this is the About Us section of the blacklivesmatter.com website. They're right there. They're talking about imagination, innovation, improvements, all vague stuff. That should give you a clue as to as to what's going on, because any organization that's about a specific benefit can give you specific tangible things that they're doing and things that they want to tangibly benefit those that they're representing. BLM ain't got that. We are expansive. We are a collective of liberators who believe in an inclusive and spacious movement. We also believe that in order to win and bring as many people along with us along the way, we must move beyond the narrow nationalism that is all too prevalent in Black communities. We must ensure we are building a movement that brings us all to the front. Who is all? We affirm lives of Black queer, black, trans, disabled, undocumented, women, all black lives along the gender spectrum. Our network centers those who have been marginalized within black liberation movements. I got a question, like, what does that mean? Who's been if you black, you've been marginalized. What, like, there's no extra marginalization than being told because you black, you can't live in this neighborhood. Because you black, I'm gonna shoot your ass, running from the police with your back turned to them. If because you black, what are they talking about? We are working for a world where black lives are no longer systematically targeted for demise. All right, that sounds good. We affirm our humanity, our contributions to the society, and our resilience in the face of deadly oppositions. Okay. The call for Black Lives Matter. The call for Black Lives to Matter is a rallying cry for all black lives striving for liberation. I ain't really telling you much about what their plans are, what they do. The reason why I'm bringing this up and their mission statement is because they bring in a lot of money. They bring in a whole lot of money. And my thing is this. Well, my main concern is throughout history, different movements use the black plight to raise money for themselves and their group, only to take that money and distribute it amongst themselves and not redistribute it amongst the black people that they used to get their money. What's up, man? You got your page shut down? That's how Facebook does, man. Jamal, you good? But yeah, so let's get into this a little more. Let me go. I'm gonna show you this other screen right here. Where are we? BTS Army just last week, whoever the hell that is, donated $1 million to the Black Lives Matter movement. Black folks, we know how we are. This is how you know Black Lives Matter ain't a black run organization. Ain't nobody questioning where this money going. Why is it that black people have to take ass whoopings, get killed by the police, get shot, get murdered, for other groups to come in and get the money? That's the exact same mistake that we made during civil rights. During civil rights, when you go back and look at where the money went, Title IX was something that was born out of civil rights. Title IX was a right for women to play sports. I have no issue with women playing sports, but states have the rights on how to spend their federal money, their federal civil rights money, and they could have chosen, okay, do we give it to black people, or do we put it in our schools and create Title IX in women's sports? The reason why women's sports exists to this day is because it was funded by money that was fought for during the civil rights movement for black people. Did you know every time that you see a handicapped driveway, do you know who that was funded by? Civil rights money, black people. That's why every time I go to the bathroom, I shit in the handicap stall. Because you didn't roll your ass out there for benefits. My grandparents did. And they got their heads bashed in for the big toilet. So I'm going to use it every time I'm out. Period. And look at you crazy if you get mad at me, Willis. So let's get that there. What's up, Julie, in the chat room? You're right, Map. You talking on Twitter? Yeah, you be aware of the exploitation by the Democratic Party when it comes to Black Lives Matter. I'm gonna get to that in 1 second because I got some receipts when it comes to the Democratic Party and Black Lives Matter. But I want to get back to, like we see here, we affirm the lives of black, queer, and trans folks. Look, let's talk about that shit right here. Black queer means you still black. Black trans, whether you're a man today, woman tomorrow, You still a nigga. If you disabled and vote, and if you disabled and black, all that means is you got cleaner Jordans than the rest of us. Because you ain't got to walk in them in your wheelchair. But you're still black. Division in America is divided upon line. The line of color. Not your disability. Not who you decide to smash. Not none of that. We saw this shit with the women's movement. The women's movement was trying to hop on the black movement. And Ida B. Wells had to put a stop to that. Ida B. Wells like, nah. It's black. Don't be coming trying to split the black family over women and men. The man in the black home ain't the problem. It's society that's the problem. And so one common tactic that society does is it pays an opposition to change the narrative. We went from black people getting killed by the police to queer and trans folks. It's like, what, 2% of black people are trans? Well, less than 1% are trans? So why are they even being talked about? They still black. They being talked about because, like, Black Lives Matter had a new little thing today. It was called All Black Lives Matter. Duh, dumbass. That's that political wedge they trying to drive in between the black community. And that a lot of that shit's done by the Democratic Party. You ever notice the Democratic Party is always talking about some, black women this, black women that? Well, did the Democratic Party forget that, it's black children, black men, black young adults? They only want to focus on one small aspect of black society, a major aspect of black society. But ladies, you got to know that's a divide and conquer tactic. So let's talk about where there's been rumors going around talking about Black Lives Matter is a political front organization for the Democratic Party. Let's get into that. Let's get into that right now. Black Lives Matter is underwritten by an online company called Act Blue. If you see here, it says affiliations, Democratic Party. Act Blue is basically independent of the Democratic Party itself. So when they say that they're not a front group for the Democratic Party, technically they're telling the truth. They're not a front group. They're, as you see here, is technically independent of the Democratic Party itself. It does not endorse individual candidates. Well, why do people say it's a Democratic front group? Maybe because, according to their own website, let me go ahead and get you that screenshot of their own website. According to their own website, which one is that? It is campaigns and organizations. No, that's not it. I showed y'all the wrong slide. Here we go. Act Blue. That's the call. Yeah, Act Blue. Let me give y'all a different screenshot. Hold on. I'm winging this shit here. Here we go. In 2018 election cycle was truly one for the history books. From raising $1.6 billion on Act Blue to electing more women to Congress than ever before. Okay, if you're not a political group, why are you bragging about how much money you're donating to political parties? So when factcheck.org says that they're not a political group, factcheck.org is technically right. They're not a political group. They just happen to raise money and donate it to political organizations. Ain't that the same goddamn thing? Raising money for Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders. What are you talking about? You ain't a political front group. Yes, the fuck you are. And that's the thing. They take black plight and raise money other places. And that was an issue that Darren Seals had. If you guys don't know who Darren Seals is, Darren Seals was a brother that was in St. Louis, he was a popular activist in the St. Louis area. He came up with the phrase, and he said something that was some real deep shit. Black death is a business. Darren Seals was found dead in St. Louis in a car that had been set on fire. He had been shot to death before the car was torched. The crime is being investigated by St. Louis Police Homicide. So basically, the people who killed him are the ones that's doing the investigation. And this is why we don't know who killed Darren Seals. Anywho, Darren Seals was somebody who was down on the front lines, on the front steps, and all around in Ferguson. And he was on fighting for the injustice that was going on. If you read this article in The Correspondent, look it up. I'm not going to read this whole thing for you. But it was this one moment. Look right here. Early 2015, Darren Seals slapped the shit out of D-Ray McKeeson, the homie with the vest. Because basically, D-Ray was coming in, on the backs of MSNBC and these major networks, raising all this money and taking it out of the community. This is what the people of Ferguson was saying. And you ever ask yourself, how does BLM get all this time on MSNBC and CNN? How are they represented so much? If they weren't backed by major organizations, they wouldn't have no time on TV. Dr. Claude Anderson has been fighting for black people for 40 years. Tell me the last time you seen him on MSNBC or TV. These are little things that we can do to see behind the cracks. You have to ask yourself, TV time is very important, very valuable. Who gets the attention? And if they're getting the attention, who's giving them the attention? You're right. Local businesses putting up BLM signs trying to drum up more business. Hey, they was doing that shit back in the riots. Black owned. It'd be a Korean motherfucker sitting right there. Ain't a goddamn Korean working for no niggas in LA. We all know that's the truth. So let's just tell the truth. But they'll put a black person out there and be like, black owned, don't mess up my shit, pay a minimum wage, and still try to steal from his ass. You right, Trey. The Democratic Party, they're the ones who were for slavery. The Democratic Party was started by Thomas Jefferson. That's all you really need to know. Well, back to Darren Seals. Darren Seals basically showed us what BLM was doing. And I got another question for everybody that's on here. Why is it, first of all, how does BLM get so much news time? And where did this nigga come from? It was like we was all minding our business out of nowhere. Then all of a sudden, this cat in a skinny vest came out and he's all of a sudden the spokesman for black people. D-Ray McKeeson. Look at this weak. Ain't this the weakest ass Black Lives Matter black fist you done ever seen in your life? Try putting that fist up in front of a child. They'll look at you like, I'll beat your ass. A 7-year-old will tell you that with that weak ass fist that he got put up there. Got the pushback hairline. This motherfucker right here, he look like this dude, what's his name? D-Ray McKeeson. He look like the last nigga you pick up in a pickup game when you're playing basketball. You mean to tell me this is the leader of the black movement? And why does he always got that blue vest on? Is that his way of signifying to the police? Come do a fake arrest so I can get this shot on CNN to make it look like I was actually out here doing some shit? Now I see why Darren Seals slapped him. Look at him. Ain't that just the weakest pose you've ever seen from any activist? Imagine if Malcolm X and Martin Luther King came out looking like that with a broke wrist fist up in the air. That fist couldn't bust a ripe cherry. Get this weak shit out of here. This nigga don't represent us. these are all kind of things that are in my mind. Like, okay, what's going on? What's going on? Like, why are you like with Black Lives Matter? Like I said, I want to make it clear to people. It's not that we're talking about Black lives don't matter. Yes, the fuck they do. It's a noble cause. It started noble, but the movement was co-opted by a bunch of weirdos like this. Look at this nigga's eyebrows, like two thumbs on his face. The movement was co-opted by cats like this. And that's why cats like Darren Seals had to do what he had to do. Because the real grassroots people are being out there doing the work, but the money's going to these cats like D-Ray, who are sent, some people say funded by George Soros. I ask you to do your own research on that. The reason why I don't bring up George Soros is because these voteps, these people who are high and blue Democratic vote, blue no matter who, the minute you say George Soros, they whole mind, everything about them turn off. So that's the reason why I don't bring his name up. But I have seen sources showing that he's a major donor behind it, because if you think about it, how do all these damn t-shirts and merchandise and news access just come out of nowhere? People, we got to know how to start seeing through things. Why am I concerned about Black Lives Matter? Why am I even bringing this shit up? It's because what's going on right now is similar to what went on in the 50s and the 60s. Black people were always revolting, but really between 1955 and 1965, black folks was really turning shit up. Dr. John Henry Clark teaches us back then we could have gotten reparations back then. Problem was, instead of asking and demanding reparations, we allowed the NAACP to come in and say, we just want integration. We just want to be accepted. We want to stay at White's hotels. We want to drink from White's water fountains. And we want to go to White's schools. And the government was like, that's all you want? Fuck it. Oh yeah, and most important for them old niggas, we want to have sex with White's women. That's what a lot of them old niggas really wanted on their mind. And so that's what they got. But that happens when you have organizations like the NAACP who do some things on the ground that are charitable, that are cool. But really at the end of the day, at the top levels, they don't really change nothing. They don't change nothing. You know, same thing with BLM. They do certain things. You're going to be able to find them do certain things where they may bail a person out from prison here and there. But at the end of the day, they ain't really doing nothing to move the needle. And when you have these do-nothing organizations speaking for us, they change the narrative. And when they change the narrative, we end up getting not what we want. So if we allow BLM or Black Lives Matter to change the narrative on us again, like the NAACP did, all this rioting, all these black people getting killed daily by the police is just going to result in transgender bathrooms. Every company must have at least 30% gay or whatever. It's going to go to money to the handicapped. Oh, Willis over there with the clean shoes broke one of his wheelchair rims, and it's going to be civil rights money going to pay for this nigga's broke wheelchair rim instead of to the black people who fought for it. So that's why I'm bringing up Black Lives Matter. That's why I'm talking about them as controlled opposition, because we don't want them changing the narrative to anything except for reparations. If you queer, you get reparations. If you straight, you get reparations. If you handicap, you get reparations. No matter, reparations for anybody who can define them, who identifies as black, who can trace their lineage back to the 19th century, to the 19th century here in the United States, and that ancestor identified themselves as black. If you can do that, you get the money. And then you can go fuck whoever you want to fuck. How about that? In other news, I want to break down police unions. I don't know if y'all saw this. Oh, I'm over here on my screen. I gotta switch it on you guys' screen. You still looking at broke wrist homie right here. Let me switch the screenshot. Police unions in California unveil national reform agenda amid heightened tensions over police tactics. Is this good or is this bullshit? Let's get into it. What is it? We're going to talk about this reform agenda. Let me put this down here in the titles. They basically saying they're going to reform the police. My question is this: can you reform a thug? Can you? Can you reform a cop? Let's see what they're talking about here. 3 police unions in California, including the Los Angeles Police Protective League, have unveiled a national reform agenda, which they say is an effort to improve outcomes. What outcomes? I don't know. It ain't really telling. It ain't really saying. I don't know what they talking about. I don't know. Let's go a little deeper into it. Where's my screen? Here we go. Proposed guidelines released in partnership with San Francisco and San Jose Police Officer Associations come amid heightened tensions over policing tactics and sweeping calls for reforms, sparked by the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Let's see what this thing is talking about in this police reform. It says the following steps are laid out in the reform plan. A national database for former police officers fired for gross misconduct, which would prevent other agencies from hiring them. Look, that's bullshit. I call BS on the first line. I have a brother and 2 close friends that are police officers. When you are applying to be a police officer, they stick a microscope 10 feet down your ass. They know everything about you when you're going to become a cop. Hell, I was actually talking to a family friend yesterday whose son is a cop, who I know also. I'm not going to mention his name. But he was talking about how he stole a Twinkie in college when he was playing college basketball. And when he applied for the California Highway Patrol, that report was in his file. From stealing a Twinkie at 19 to applying for the CHP close to 30, they still knew he stole a Twinkie almost 10 years ago. So if they knew he stole a Twinkie, wouldn't they know if a police officer had been fired for gross misconduct? Don't, when you get a job, they apply, they call your last job and be like, "Hold on, who was this nigga? How was he? Did he cuss out the customers? Something." So that right there tells you, okay, we starting off with bullshit. A sweeping use of force standard emphasizes a reverence for life, de-escalation, a duty to intercede in situations of excessive force or misconduct, as well as strong accountability provisions. Now, I'm with that. I like that. My question is, how is it going to be enforced? Are the black officers going to be the ones that get sent to jail for not interceding while they make an excuse for the white ones to not intercede? How will this be enforced? Because we all know that bullshit ass blue wall that the police have. We all know the police make up shit and lie on reports. And we also know that the police don't like being accountable. Whenever another police officer does say something to them, they act like goddamn nothing. Like, well, you say something to me, I won't respond on your next call if you need my help. They do shit like that. You're right, Weller. The cop that killed Michael Newby in your city, Louis, I heard about that killing in Louisville. Was later assigned somewhere else. Yep, that happens all the time. That happens all the time. These police officers don't get. That happened with that woman police officer that killed Terrence Crutcher with his hands up. She just got reassigned to the next police officer right next door. Same thing with that Ohio cop that killed Tamir Rice. Reassigned. So they say that, okay, they're going to do something about reassigning. We'll see where that goes. An early warning system to identify officers that may need more training. Okay. Well, I'm gonna give you one example. One thing that help you guys, police union. All your damn police officers need more training. 6 weeks ain't enough for somebody to go through a 6 week long academy. Now you give them a gun and a badge and no prosecution. Are you serious? To me, this is a bullshit one right here because the FBI stated long ago that white supremacist organizations have infiltrated police and all that kind of stuff. They know who these guys are. These motherfuckers be having they be having tattoos and shit. I'll never forget that one officer that was killed by Michael Johnson over in Dallas. Well, it was 5 of them that was killed. It was 5 of them that were killed, and one of the officers that got killed had Facebook posts showing Nazi emblems, and he still had a job. Y'all think I'm bullshitting? Look at this. Look at this. No, I don't want your little pop-up. FBI has quietly investigated the white supremacist infiltration of law enforcement. They're at every level. So that means right here, we know just based on the FBI's investigation, they should already know who is and who isn't. Shouldn't they? But they said they want to create a database. So to me, when they say they want to do shit like create a database, that's them giving themselves more money to put in their own pockets. Reoccurring and frequent training in crisis intervention and de-escalating training. Okay, that can help. But whenever we see this word here, training, get that. That means more money for them. Training means, okay, we're about to get $100 million new dollars, spend $8 million on training and pocket the rest. Why don't they need training to not kill Jews or white people? Why do they only need training to not kill black people running from them? That right there looks like a little bit of an excuse. A little bit of money flipping hands right here. A publicly accessible use of force analysis website, so the public can monitor when and how force is used. I like that, but I only like that if it shows the name of the police officer and has an accurate account of the type of force that they use. We got to put these police officers out there by name that continually use excessive force. The joint statements calls for a reform agenda to be adopted across the country. I'm down with a cross-country adaptation, but this here, kind of looks like weak sauce to me. It's kind of looking weak right here, people. It's kind of looking weak. Here's my solution to police reform. You're going to hear it here, but I'll say it again. Police reform is hire cops and hold them to the same standards you hold someone who sells insurance to. Anybody who sells insurance or securities funds or who sold them in the past, you know what that's like. Yes, you got to go through a background check, but also you have to be insured and be bonded. You can't lie. If you lie, guess what? If you lie to someone about what their funds are, you tell them those funds are federally guaranteed and they're not, you're going to jail. You have to be able to hold a bond to stay in business. And your bond rate, your ability to have a bond depends on your ability and your history of being someone who's dependable, honest, and trustworthy. Because the minute you get caught up doing any kind of thing in those fields, you're now uninsurable. And if you're uninsurable, you can't work. Well, how about take that to the police department? You can't reform a racist. But what you can do is tell that racist, if you put your knee in a nigga's neck, you're going to jail for 25 years. If you're lucky. What you can do is say, okay, if you've pulled that baton out too many times and knocked somebody upside their head, you can't work here anymore because we can't insure you. If you hit them with their job security, if you hit them with having them pay their own fines when they fuck somebody up, the police will reform themselves. Yep, you're right about that Weller dude in Kentucky who was 35 minutes away. You're right, that Breonna Taylor killing. That Breonna Taylor killing. They were at the wrong goddamn house, 35 miles away. Now, what if the judge, and not just the police, the judge, the DA, all of them. Do you think he would have checked twice on that address before he signed off on that no-knock warrant to kill a black woman, Breonna Taylor, in her sleep? If he had to insure himself, if his performance, if his ability to continue working and continue getting paid every 2 weeks was dependent upon a review of his own performance, you think we'd have a different police department then? Yeah, so I'm looking at this police reform thing and I'm not impressed. But you know what? Look, it is a step in the right direction, and I hate fucking using that term, step in the right direction, because it's usually bullshit. But I can see it, doing something, a national thing. My only thing is, how is it going to be enforced? We had 2 black people here in Southern California, Victorville and Palmdale, 50 miles apart, 20 miles apart, getting lynched. And they said it was suicide. Okay, if it was suicide, where's the chair he used to get his ass up there on that tree? Did he hang himself, get off the tree, move the chair somewhere else, then get back and put his neck in the noose, then die? Is that how it happened, cops? Is that what y'all trying to tell me? Is that how he got found? It's a lot going on. And if the police are writing shit like this, these brothers killed themselves by hanging themselves and that's it, then the police themselves need to be investigating. That's all I want to talk about today. I wanted to get that out there. Black Lives Matter, yes, they are, in my opinion, a political front group. It doesn't mean black lives don't matter. It just means that the emotion and the energy behind Black Lives Matter is being transferred to a whole bunch of people who ain't got a damn thing to do with black lives. And we don't want that, because we don't want to make the mistake the previous generation did behind the NAACP and trading our reparations in for integration. We ain't making that mistake twice. So watch out for these organizations like Black Lives Matter taking in all this money just to donate to the Democratic Party. Yes, we know that, like I said earlier, they're not directly the Democratic Party, but as I've showed you earlier on the screenshots, it says it's basically an organization, Act Blue, which underwrites Black Lives Matter, is affiliated with the Democratic Party, the party of Jefferson, the party who believes Joe Biden said trans rights are going to be the civil rights of his presidency if elected. That's who the Democrats are. So we don't want our suffering to be redistributed to Democratic dollars, especially if they ain't doing shit about our suffering. They offering, hey, we'll come in, I got some hot sauce for you, and we'll wear this kente cloth. We'll do these bullshit symbolic things, but we ain't going to do nothing for you. That time is over with, Democrats. So where donate to? Donate to your local places, people that you know out there doing something. I gave some money to both Tariq Nasheed and Jason Black because they're both bailing out people out of jail. And the people that they bailed out have actually come on the phone and talked. And you can look them up and see, hold on, they're actually bailing people out. I ain't seen nobody that Black Lives Matter bailed out. I'll donate to Dr. Claude Anderson's Harvest Institute. He's been fighting for reparations forever and pulling that money out of his own pocket. Donate to the people you see, the people you touch. Don't let these assholes come in out of nowhere, taking our money and not giving that shit back to us and giving it to Joe Biden, the person who created the war on drugs. No, Nixon created that. Joe Biden, the person who created and increased mass incarceration. Let me get that right. And read between the lines of these so-called reforms that these people are talking about. Because on the surface, they'll have you thinking it's one thing, but in application, it's something totally different. I don't expect the police to properly police the police. This thing here looks like, for the most part, a big nothing burger. But at least shows that we on their mind. So black folks and people who like black people, keep fighting the good fight. Keep pushing. Keep doing it. Because if we keep pushing forward the way we are now, we have no choice but to win. Remember, my name is Dewan B. Hotepish.com. Go to get your merchandise. If you're listening on YouTube, subscribe. Follow the Hotepish page. And look out for Parenting While Black, my other podcast miniseries. Well, not miniseries, series. It's on my YouTube page, Dewan B. Hotepish.com. All the links are right there. Remember, there are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages for those who are willing to pick up game. We out.